edition of That Millwall podcast. Following on the trend for the last couple of weeks, we're recording an Inside Man. We're joined with by regular panel guest, Space Star Ben. How are you doing?
I like that, Space Star. Good evening, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, very good, thank you. And we're also joined by a view from our next opponents in the league. We're joined by Mark from Sky Blues Fan TV. Mark, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Stephen. Thanks for inviting me on.
No, it's a pleasure to have you. We'll start with you, Mark. Obviously, Ben seems to have disappeared. Last time out, obviously, I believe it was a 1-1 draw against Luton. How are things? How did you get on in that game? What was the sort of level of performance and optimistic really for tomorrow?
Yeah, I thought it was a decent performance at Luton. I mean, Luton are, I think, similar to Millwall in a lot of ways, quite a powerful physical side, quite a resilient team. They're I thought from our point of view, it was a better performance. We haven't only won like 2 games since we've come back from the World Cup, but we definitely strengthened a bit at the back. Carl McFadden came for his first appearance in his 2 or 3 months from injury, which made a big difference at the back. Maxi Godden's come back from injury as well, so he went with a different formation for that game. He went with 2 up front. Usually plays 1 up front with a couple like number 10 positions and sort of a couple of holding midfielders. But it was a decent performance. I thought Luton were, they're a decent side, but I don't think they're, I think they're beatable. Luton have lost a couple of players, I think, on the transfers. I think Bree's gone to Southampton. Cornick has gone to Bristol City as 2 examples. And I think with them, I think it's about how you handle the big players. And I thought we got off the worst possible start, having said that, where we could see it in the first minute. A little bit of luck really for their goal. Cross came in. Casey Palmer sort of tried to clear it, kind of miskicked it, looped in the air, and I think it was Lockyer just headed it into the back of the net. So it was a disappointing start, but I thought we played well after that. We won a good penalty. Although referee was a joke in that game. He should have sent off. I think it was Osher at the back. Gyökeres has got a shot on goal there, and he brings him down. Stonewall penalty, and no sanction after that. So it was a pretty poor decision, in my opinion.
I think we'll come on to refs a little bit later on, so you can elaborate a bit further with that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think our performances have been a bit up and down, I'd say, at the moment. I went to the game at West Brom the week before. We were very poor first half. I mean, West Brom won 1-0, but it could have easily been 2 or 3-0 before they actually scored. And then we improved a bit second half. So I think this game against Millwall, another tough opponent. I think it's a sort of game where both teams will be saying we need to beat this team if we've got aspirations of getting into the playoffs. I'm sure you'll be saying that, and we'll be saying the same as well. I think from our point of view, we need to win this game to get ourselves back into contention. But I think realistically, if we can improve from mid-table last season, I'll be quite happy with that. I'm not quite sure we're ready for playoffs. But you never know. Football's a funny game. If you can get 1 win, it gives you a bit of momentum into the next game. But, as you won at QPR, and it's a decent win there, and you drunk through the Sunderland, who are there or thereabouts as well. So it's quite an open league. I think the Championship this year. I don't know what your thoughts are. I think. I think obviously Burnley and Sheffield United are probably sewn up 1 and 2, but I think after that it's anyone's positions. I think the season is up for grabs.
Absolutely, I think the standard of the league necessarily has tightened, and I think that's why there's teams like Luton that you mentioned earlier, us and other clubs that are sort of making a push. Leads me look kind of nicely onto you, Ben. Obviously, following the back of a good away victory. Brief thoughts on that, and optimistic for tomorrow. I know you're not always the most optimistic of Millwall fans, but must have a little bit of confidence after Saturday.
Yeah, I think just echoing on what Mark said, I think it's certainly with our fixture list and the games we've got coming up, I think it's a game that I'm looking at to see not where we're at, because we know where we're at, but almost I feel like it's a bit of a must win for us already, because Mark, I don't know if you're aware, but we've got Sheffield United off the back of you. We've then got Burnley, Luton. So we've got some tough games ourselves coming up. So yeah, I think for us, tomorrow night's a massive game. I feel like definitely coming off the back of a massive win against QPR. So yeah, I'm going into it quietly confident. That being said, if my dad watches the rerun here, he'll be going, I don't know why you're thinking that, because he's a massive fan of Coventry and he really likes Coventry. So, yeah, look, I think it'll be a good game. I think it will be a tight game. As we just said, I think the standard of the league's all pretty close, from probably 15th or 16th all the way up to probably 3rd. There's not too much in between all of those sides. So, yeah, I think it'll be a good game, but I am going into it quietly optimistic, which is weird for me. So cue us getting stuff 6-1 like we did in lockdown. But yeah, no, I think, yeah, be a good game. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, to echo both of your points there, from my point of view, I think it is going to be a close game. I thought the return or the previous fixture at the Den, Mark, I don't know if you come to the Den or if you would have seen the highlights and perhaps replays, but I thought it was a tale of two halves. You come out the traps really, really quickly, put us on the back foot, and I think we were 2-0 down inside sort of 20-25 minutes. And then we come back into it. You guys had a guy sent off and obviously changed the game a little bit, and we managed to turn it around, and obviously by one goal. I don't think there'll be much between the two sides tomorrow, personally. I think it will be a close game. Mark, I'd come to you next. Just a couple of bits and pieces that I'd looked into you guys. Obviously, you know, everybody in the Championship, everybody in probably English football is aware of how good Gyökeres is. Obviously, it was a big boost for you guys to hold on to him in the January transfer window. Is it a case of the other players are perhaps not quite up on his level? I mean, I had you guys tipped to be really, you know, pushing for the top 6. You hinted that you might not be ready for it. Is it a case of he is, if he doesn't play, you guys struggle, or what seems to be the reason for perhaps not being confident of making that top 6?
I think it's the lack of depth in the squad. I think
Right.
is the big problem. If Gyökeres went injured, we haven't got a player of his ability that can. I think that Gyökeres is, it's not just the goals he scores, but it's the work he does back. You know, he's back to goal. It brings other players into the game, sets chances up as well. He's got a lot of really good attributes, which we don't really have a player who can. I mean, our other strikers, we've got Matty Godden, who's a good sort of player in the 6-yard box. He's probably our best finisher, actually, Matty Godden. I don't think Gyökeres is our best finisher at the club. I say Matty Godden is, but Matty Godden is more of a, I guess, kind of a fox the box striker. He scores a lot of goals from sort of inside the penalty area. Tyler Walker for me is not Championship standard. I think he's a League One player. He hasn't had a lot of opportunities. He's had in his defence, he's had injuries, but from what I've seen of him, he's not really someone who will step up to the plate if we get an injury. We brought in Sean Morrison. No, not Sean Morrison. I can't remember his name. There's a guy from Preston. I think it's Sean Maguire. Yeah. And he hasn't. To be fair, I've not seen a great deal of Sean Maguire really. To sort of make an opinion of him. He came in on a free from Preston till the end of the season, so he's obviously got something to prove. But yeah, there's lack of quality. We need to get goals from other players. We don't get enough goals from other players. Gustavo Haynes, to be fair, is had probably one of his best seasons for the club. He's been fantastic. Not just I think he was red carded at Millwall earlier this season. What you were saying earlier, I think he had 2 yellows from memory. But his all round play has been really good this season. His defensive work's been good, and he's got an eye for a goal as well. Jamie Allen divides a lot of opinion in our club. He's a hard working player, but he doesn't score enough goals. Although ironically, he's probably had his most assists this season for the club, but not his biggest fan. But the point is that we need to get goals from other positions, and we're not getting that. So there's too much reliance on Gyökeres to deliver. And even Gyökeres, although I think is an excellent striker for us, I don't actually think he's Premier League quality just yet. because I think he misses his fair share of chances.
I was just about to ask that, Mark. I was going to say, was there any reason that he didn't make his move into the Premier League? Because I think he's probably the envy of every club in the Championship, certainly. And I think we all look at him, and it's interesting you say that he's probably not Premier League quality. Was there any other reason there? Do you think there was a bid that maybe came in? Because I know there was a lot of rumours about Everton and maybe West Ham making a bid in the January transfer window. But yeah, do you think a bid was made and he'll be off in the summer, or do you generally think he's just not quite good enough for the Premier League?
I suspect he'll go in the summer because his contract's up in 2024. So I think you'll either sign a contract with us maybe for a year and maybe a big clause in it if we get a certain amount of money from a club, then he'll probably be able to talk to him. I feel he misses too many chances though, and you think, well, he scored 11 goals. Why? That's an incredible thing to say. But a game like West Brom, take the game as West Brom for example. West Brom's not an easy place to go, but he's got two good chances there, and if he gets obviously if he gets both of them, we win the game, or we've got a good chance of winning the game. But it's just he's a fantastic player. I mean, I want him to stay, forever and ever. But realistically, I'm a realist. If a club comes in for an offer around, I don't know, say 15, 20 million, around that sort of figure, I think he'll probably be gone. But I don't think he's necessarily Premier League quality. I don't think. I think he'll be a bench player in the Premier League, if I have to be honest. I'm not saying that because I don't want him to go. I generally don't think he's quite there yet. But that's not to say he won't develop that quality. But he's integral. He's an integral player for us for everything that's good about our play. For sure.
It's quite interesting that you say that, and Ben, I'm going to put you on the spot here now, because we have a very similar situation with one of our players in Zian Fleming, possibly being the main man for us. Not comparing him to Guy Caressa, two different players completely, but Ben, do you think I know we've brought in a couple of attackers, but do you think there's perhaps a little bit of that reliance and perhaps the lack of quality on the same level as Fleming in our squad? Are we in a similar position to perhaps Coventry and Guy Caressa?
Yeah, I certainly think so. I think we've seen that the early part of the season already, and our desperation in trying to get a striker in January. I'm hoping now, certainly with the little bit of quality, or the lot of quality we saw from Watmore in a short space of time, or only one game from the weekend, that he can add that little bit more in terms of goals and assists, and we won't be so reliant on Fleming. But yeah, I certainly feel like there's going to be a similar story with us, or we're going to be very similar in terms of our reliance on Fleming, like Coventry perhaps are with Icarus. So yeah, it seems like we're just two very similar sides, to be fair. But yeah, look, I'm hoping with the addition of Watmore, certainly with Burt coming in as well. Bradders, I think I've said it on the show before, I think he's streaky. I'm hoping he can go on a streak again at some point soon. But yeah, there is obviously going to be a massive reliance on Fleming for the rest of the year. He's going to be key for us to make that continued push for the top six. And I think, like what Mark said as well, if we get a bid of 15 and 20 million in the summer, it could be farewell to Fleming as well. So yeah, probably very similar in players, the reliance and the importance to the two sides.
Yeah, I think so. Both of them are obviously making a name for themselves in the Championship this year. Different players, again, not comparing the two, because I think Guy Caressa, as I say, more of a striker, whereas Fleming is the creative midfielder. Mark, just to bring you back in, I mean, in terms of expectation at Coventry, where yourself personally and maybe the wider fan base, what was the expectation going into the season? Obviously, I know you guys started with some trouble with the ground and getting fixtures played. Obviously, that seems to be, from an outsider, you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, to be kind of rectified. Expectation level to top 10, top 6, what do you think, and what do you think the wider fan base would be expecting?
I think realistically, I don't think we would like playoffs, but I don't think it's not a big expectation.
Right.
Mark Robbins has probably got he's under probably the least amount of pressure of all the managers you'll get in the Championship, because he's purely because he's taken us from League 2 back up to the Championship.
Mm-hmm.
he's got a lot of credit in the bank. I think expectations are if we can get at least mid-table or top 10, I think that's a good season for us.
Right.
But with Doug King now being, the new owner, the summers can be very interesting regarding, comings and goings. But, of course, the ambition long term is to get back to the Premier League. That's where we want to be. Mark Robbins has said publicly that, he wants to take Coventry back to the Premier League. And it's been too long. It has been 21 years or 22 years now this season where we've not gone out to the big league. And I think that it's definitely something we're aiming for. I think this season, I think the players will say we can get playoffs. I mean, Carl McFadden in the interview after the Luton game said that we need to beat Millwall really midweek to get ourselves a chance because unfortunately we've played quite a few of the teams to playoffs and in the top two and we haven't picked up many points. So it's a good opportunity tomorrow night to get some points on the board and start climbing the table. But I think realistically, I think top 10 is a good season for us. I don't think we're quite good enough for playoffs. And I think the reason for that is we just don't have the depth of players. We don't have enough players in our squad. If we have a couple of injuries, like Callum O'Hare is a massive player for us. We don't have anyone. To be fair, Casey Palmer he's done a real good job for us. Mm-hmm. But Callum O'Hare, he's a massive focal point going forward. A bit like Fleming for you guys, and to be without him has been a massive blow for us.
And Ben, I think I know the answer to this question, but the expectation from yourself for us, are you expecting the top 6? Would you be happy with the top 10, top 8?
I don't expect anything with us. I'm quite realistic in terms of budget and the teams certainly in and around us. You look at all of those, they are just bigger clubs than us. Just take Luton out of that. We won't go into that debate again, but take Luton out of that. Everyone else in and around us are just bigger clubs, bigger budgets, bigger squads, etc. So I don't think there's an expectation to. I think now where we are, as I said earlier, I think the next 5-6 fixtures is really key for the rest of our season. But I think now where we are, I would be pretty disappointed if we weren't at least giving ourselves a chance of making that top 6, it being in our own hands towards the end of the season. But as I say, there certainly wasn't any expectations for me to be there at the start of the year. I think just touching on that, Gary Rowett, I think at times, or for quite a lot of his tenure at Millwall, has got a bit of stick, and I think unduly, and I think all of us probably have gone, his football's boring at some point. But do you know what? I think what he's done and what he's doing is nothing short of superb, and he deserves a lot more credit from us as a fan base. I think he needs, my dad keeps saying to me, needs some love from the fans, and it was great to see him at the end of the game at QPR really giving us a roar. So I'm hoping he sticks around for the next couple of years as well. So, yeah, look, there were certainly no expectations, as I said, for the top 6, but now I'd be pretty disappointed if it wasn't in our own hands come the end of the year, or certainly at least to give us an opportunity to be in there.
Yeah, I'd probably have to go with that. I think the expectation with all football clubs, everyone wants the best for their football clubs. I'm sure there'll be other Coventry fans that were, of course, they'd want to be in the top 6. There'll be Millwall fans listening going, of course we want to be on the top 6. But sometimes you probably have to be a little bit realistic with squad size and you say injuries to key players or suspensions. I'm going to go back to a topic that you briefly touched on, Mark, the standard of refereeing and general officiating in the Championship. Us Millwall supporters, I don't know how much you may see of our games or our rants from our supporters on Twitter, but we have a lot to say about the standard of officiating, and especially the standard of officiating when it comes to opposition players rugby tackling Jake Cooper from set pieces. We seem to feel quite hard done by. General thoughts, really. What do you think? Where do you think the issue lies with it? Because you're not the first supporter that's come on the show that's kind of had something to say about perhaps the standard of
Yeah, I think it's been. Certainly the referee at our game against Luton on Saturday was very poor. He got a lot of stick from the crowd. As I said earlier, I thought their defender should have got sent off Osho for a foul on Gyökeres, which was to me was a denying obvious goal scoring opportunity offence. And he's only given me a yellow card, and that was just unbelievable decision, really. And not just that, I just think it's the amount of times players are committing not just one foul but 3 or 4 fouls, and there's no yellow card, there's no action, there's no sanction, and you know it's all about getting control of the game. And I felt the game that I saw Saturday, he lost control. The only decision I agreed with actually was Wilson Esbrand, our left wing back, got sent off for 2 yellows, and he was a bit reckless. That's the only decision I'd say. Fair enough, I can sort of understand that decision, but yeah, I just think yeah, it's not just the official, it's not just the referee, it's the assistant referee as well. You know, don't always think they're proactive enough in their decision making. But the only thing I would say is I'm not. I don't know what your guys' opinion on this. I personally wouldn't want VAR coming into the Championship. That's one thing I would say. You know, you see the games of the Premier League, and they still can't get decisions right. And I think there was an incident in the Arsenal game, I think recently, where the Brentford player was in an offside position to build up to their equaliser, but yet the VAR guy forgot to draw the lines, even though he was in an offside position. So I mean, we all moan about referees, but I don't necessarily think VAR is the answer to all our problems. That's just my view. I'd rather the referee make a bad decision there and then. A bit of honesty, I guess. But that's something I would say. I just think I'm not. I think I don't want to sort of keep. I mean, I've been a referee myself. It's not an easy job, and part of the job of refereeing is knowing when to play the advantage and knowing when to bring it back. It's just. I think sometimes referees can be a bit too whistle happy. But our referee we had on Saturday was number of times our players got fouled, and to be fair, Gustavo Hamer should have got a yellow card because he fouled the Luton player about 3 or 4 times. If I'm being fairly sort of neutral about it, and there was no yellow card for him, which I was delighted about. But really, truthfully, he should have had a yellow as well. So it's just little things like that. If you don't get the cards out to control the game, then you're making life hard for yourself. So that's my thoughts. But certainly, I don't think VAR is the solution in my opinion. I just think referees have got to get better. That's all I'd say.
I would agree. I don't think VAR in the Championship would. I don't particularly like VAR at any level, watching any level of football. Personally, I would agree. I think the thing with that is it's not actually VAR that's making the decision. It's still a human referee that's watching the screen. Yeah. So it's not. Yeah. It's still a human person that's making the decisions that's still like influencing games. Ben, I pretty much know what you're going to say to this, but the standard of refereeing. In the Championship, where do you think the issue lies? Where do you think it can improve? Or how do you think it can improve?
I'm pleased Mark said he used to be a referee because I was about to go full barrels on referees then, so I won't just do that. But I think for not only this year, but for a couple of years now, just the standard of refereeing, and I don't even really mean just in our league, I think we saw it in the World Cup at times, it was baffling. I think the standard of refereeing or officiating generally is at its lowest that I can remember. Maybe it's just more made of it now because they do Ref Watch on Sky Sports News and things like that. But I think it's at its lowest. You made the point of Jake Cooper there, Stephen, about, I mean, it seems like every week now, it's just, they might as well turn it into WWE when we have a free kick or corner because it's just ridiculous. He literally gets wrestled. And the one Saturday was just an absolute embarrassment. And how they haven't picked up on that. And it's not like, again, we say there, it's not just the ref, right? There's a linesman that can see that as well. I think it's really poor. It needs to improve. How they improve it, I don't know, because no one wants to go up and be a ref. I do think, though, when they talk about on Sky Sports about getting ex-players involved, I think they need to do that. And I think that will help the game. And just going back to the VAR point, yeah, I've got zero interest in it being in the Championship anytime soon. I know we probably would get a penalty every week, as I just said, for the Cooper thing, but for me, it kills the flow of the game. They haven't got it right. As you said, Stephen, there's still a human element behind it. I mean, we spoke about the Arsenal one there, but the Brighton disallowed goal where they drew the line on the wrong player was ridiculous.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
I heard about it in the press.
Yeah, have a watch of that one, Mark. So if you think the Brentford one was bad, the Brighton one was even worse. I don't want it anywhere near the Championship. I still love that raw nature of it, and whether it's controversial or not, we're going to be on the end of some bad decisions. We're going to get our fair share of good ones as well. I just don't like it taking that emotion factor out of football, I feel. So, yeah, please don't implement it in the Championship anytime soon.
Yeah, I echo both points. As I said earlier, I don't advocate VAR at all. I think the World Cup was a prime example. There were some baffling decisions in that, and that's on the grandest stage. So if they can't get it right in the biggest tournament in football, what confidence is there really that's the way forward for the Championship or other leagues around the world? Bringing it back to the game tomorrow, obviously, I think both sides are looking to cement positions or enhance positions. Mark, I mean, in terms of from a Coventry perspective, do you think our games only? I had a look earlier. I think you've played 30 now, so obviously there's 16 games to go. Is it a case of if you sort of don't start putting a bit of a run together that the playoffs or the dream of the playoffs might be over? Does that need to start ASAP, or because of the nature of the league, are you in it right until last knockings?
Yeah, I think it's a big game tomorrow. We need to win a home game. Simple as that. Simple as that. Because you know, with I think if we win tomorrow, that takes us on to 42 points, and then we're sort of not. We've got Rotherham next game away, and you think, well, you target 3 points at Rotherham, but you never know. So I think if we can get a bit of momentum going, we can get that win tomorrow. I think yeah, we've still got a shout at the playoffs, but we need to get on the run now.
Mm-hmm.
16 games to go. We've got Millwall, Rotherham, and then we've got Sunderland. So we've got three. Sunderland at home is always a tasty fixture as well. So that's another game which will be quite good. But yeah, we need to start. We need to get on the run if we want playoffs. I think my personal opinion is we're not under pressure to get to the playoffs. I think that's the thing. The expectation amongst the fans is not massively high on playoffs. But if we can improve our 12th position from last season, I think that would be seen as a successful season. But we need to win tomorrow. Simple as. Millwall, good side. We lost to them last season at home. I think I was at the game. It was a 1-0 win for Millwall. They scored fairly late. It was one of those horrible games where I think we just we could have played till next week and couldn't score. It was that kind of game. It was very frustrating. But I'm hoping for a better result tomorrow. I was really, really disappointed with the result at the den early in the season when we were 2 up, and then our goalkeeper decides to make a calamitous mistake for a goal. So it'd be nice to put that right tomorrow. But yeah, playoff. If we want playoffs, we've got to win tomorrow and then get ourselves a run of about 3 or 4 wins. You never know. Put pressure on other teams, and I think it's an open league this year. That's my thoughts anyway.
And before I come to you, Ben, just on the game tomorrow, Mark. I mean, in terms of Coventry looking at Millwall coming to you guys tomorrow, have you been impressed with Millwall, with us, the Lions? Have you been able to sort of see much of us? What's the general feel? Because from sometimes from when we're at games and you look at teams coming, you think, oh, they've got good players. They're capable of coming and winning the game. Is there a sort of a surprise element with Millwall being in the top 6 or not really? Was that something that may have been expected?
No, not really. I think Mill always been there. There's always been a side been there or thereabouts. So there's always been a top half championship side, and I know it'll be a tough game. I think Mill will be fairly similar opponents to Luton. Luton were quite a strong physical side. I look at someone like Tom Bradshaw up front, who's quite a physical striker, who's been pretty good for you guys. I must admit, I've not seen a lot of Fleming, but I've heard, as you're saying, I've heard some good things about him. So he's obviously going to be a threat tomorrow. But I'm not surprised with Mill's position. I think that you've had some good results this season, and the fact that you've gone to QPR and picked up 3 points, although I think QPR are probably a team that are on the slide a little bit this season. But no, it's going to be a tough game, no doubt about it. It won't be easy, but it's a game we can win. Because we've beaten sides, we've beaten Sheffield United, we've beaten Blackburn. We gave Burnley a decent game at home. So we're good enough to beat sides above us. It's all about how we turn up on the day. On our day we can beat any team, but also on our day we can lose to any team. So it's a bit unpredictable. But I think Millwall will be a tough game tomorrow. There's no doubt about that. But look, there's no easy game in the Championship. Every game, if you don't underestimate any team, you can lose. So even if you play Wigan Athletic, you can lose if you're not on it. So tough game, but if we we are definitely capable of winning tomorrow, 100%.
And Ben, firstly, thoughts on Coventry from from an outsider point of view rather than a supporter. Surprised perhaps by where they are in the league, or would expecting maybe something else, a different position.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I have a soft spot for Coventry, but I've always looked at them as a club that have been very hard done by in recent seasons. Just with everything that's been going on behind the scenes. I've always looked at them, and Mark Robbins has done an unbelievable job. I think again, I don't know if it helped Mark or hindered, obviously with the games that got called off early on. Was it this year with the home pitch wasn't suitable?
Yes,
So again,
I
always find if you've got games in hand, that's not necessarily the easiest thing. Certainly in the Championship to make points back on. But yeah, generally, I've always looked at Coventry as a good side. And I think in recent years, it's probably been fairly even with us in the results, whether it be in League One or the Championship. So, yeah, as I said earlier, I think it would be a good game. But, yeah, a club I've always looked at with a bit, not of admiration, but I felt sorry for the Coventry fans and deserve a bit better because don't like to see what they've been going through. So, yeah, a club I've always kind of earmarked that if they did well, then fair play to them.
I was saying to just before I come on the show to Mickey, I went to a game at the Rico, and it was around the time I think there was some protests and tennis balls were thrown on the pitch. And just after that incident, we actually scored from a corner. The game was halted, and as I echo what Ben said, there's certain clubs, perhaps that we have a bigger rivalry with that we might not be so forgiving, but it's never nice to see supporters of a football club go through some of the kind of experiences and perhaps have a club.
I was trying to say it very diplomatically, Stephen. Yeah,
a club that perhaps was at the as you said in the Premier League at one point and having to kind of build their way back up. So I think from me, and I'm sure there's other supporters that echo the same. There's a lot of respect there for the job that Robbins has done. And Ben, on the game tomorrow, I'm going to put you on the spot first. Can I have a score prediction and how you think the game's going to go?
How I think the game's going to go, I think it'll be a typical away performance from us. I think anything like Saturday, we'll sit in, probably make it difficult for the first 15 or 20. So I'd expect you guys to have a lot of the ball, Mark. But I'm going to go for the same result as Saturday and say a 2-1 win to the Lions. And I would take that. I would pay money for that result tomorrow because, as I said, I'm looking at our preceding fixtures and they're going to be tough. So also looking at the teams around us tomorrow night and Wednesday, their fixtures, you'd expect Norwich to beat Hull. Burnley could do us a favour in beating Watford, and then Wednesday night there's a couple of teams that are playing each other. So I think it's an important game for us because, as I say, I think the next 5 or 6 games we don't want to be picking up 4 defeats out of those 5, and then there could be a bit of a gap opening up into that top 6 again, or we're not even in the top 6. So I think it's an important game. I would take a draw now, but I'm going to go with being optimistic tonight and say a 2-1 win.
And just quickly, Ben, not allowed to say Zian Fleming, star player to look out for.
Someone that I think only recently, and he probably deserves it after Saturday as well, but Billy Mitchell probably goes under the radar in terms of what he actually does for us. Obviously, 100 appearances for the club Saturday, was very well publicised after the game. But I think, again, he's just as an important player for us in terms of as Fleming is, and Rowett said it in his post-match interview. I think without him, we would start to struggle. I think a lot more than we do because he just ticks the ball over, keeps the game flowing. And again, Rowett said in his interview that he wants to start getting more attacking stats and goals and assists on his record. But I think what he's doing for us this year has been brilliant, and he's really improved, I think. So I'll go with Billy Mitchell.
And Mark, I'm going to put similar questions to yourself, put you on the spot for a prediction for the game tomorrow. And you're not allowed to say Guy Carrez, star player for Millwall fans to look out for in the Coventry side.
Yeah, it'll be a tough game. I don't see there being a lot of goals, I have to be honest. But I'm usually one of the more pessimistic Coventry fans on the podcast. I never go Coventry to win, because if I say that, we usually lose. So I'll probably I'll be happy with a win, obviously, but I think I'm going to go 1-1 for this game. I, I think Millwall will be a hard side to break down, and I think the thing we've got to do tomorrow is not concede first. If we concede first, we can struggle. Although, having said that, Saturday we did do quite well at Luton, but I'm going for a draw. Um, it'd be nice to beat Millwall. I think we're due a win against Millwall, to be fair, because I'm sick and tired of losing to you guys. So, but I'm going to go for a draw for this 1-1.
You
It's
sound
only
like
been the last 2 games, Mark. It's not been that long.
It's been too long for me.
You sound like a Millwall fan in there, because the things you say are very similar to what comes out of our mouths on our podcast and spaces and things. I'm actually in agreement with you, Mark. I don't think there'll be many goals tomorrow. I think it's going to be a really tight game. I think both sides, whilst they both want to win for their own league positions, I think both sides will be equally desperate not to lose as well. Obviously, with Coventry being at home, you don't really want to be losing your home games. And for us, with who we go into, I think Ben's point that we play Sheffield United and Burnley back to back after this. Admittedly, both at the Den, but it's a game that I think both sides probably won't want to lose. I can't not go with a Millwall win. I don't want to do it because, as you say, it kind of puts the mockers on it. But I'm gonna just eke out maybe a 1-0, similar to the last game that we at the Rico last season. But I think it's going to be very, very tough. That's it for this edition. We've obviously been joined by Mark from Sky Blues Fan TV. Obviously, guys, travelling to the game tomorrow. Check them out. Have a listen to their guys. It's been a pleasure having you on, Mark. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Thanks to Ben. Cheers.
And obviously, Ben, pleasure as always to do these with you. And hopefully, the next time we speak, we'll have another 3 points. Any last words, Ben?
No, as I said, I think really important game tomorrow. Would certainly not be adverse to taking a point, as I mentioned. But still buzzing from Saturday. So come on, you Lions.
Absolutely, come on, you Lions. So this has been the Inside Man with Mark from Sky Blues Fan TV, the Coventry City supporter. The Lions travel to the Rico tomorrow evening on Valentine's Day. So hopefully there'll be a decent atmosphere in the ground. And from our point of view, we get the job done. Obviously, from Mark's point of view, he'll be hoping for a different result. This has been That Millwall podcast. This will be available as out on Spotify and standalone podcast from tomorrow morning. It'll also go out on YouTube tomorrow afternoon. So thank you very much. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and look forward to the next show. Cheers.
Thank you.